Jagema, Jagema, and street address is 7 Victoria Drive.
And then I'll defer to Blaine. Are you okay, or do you want to
Yeah,
wait?
maybe we should wait and just, we're happy to answer the questions, but
Get through the-
walk through,
Yeah,
take
because
board
some of the
questions.
might get answered later on,
Right.
so we'll let them finish their presentation, and then we'll open up to public comment.
Slide 11. This is basically an engineered drawing of a typical above-ground storage tank. Again, we're proposing the 22,000 barrel AST. These can store either fresh water or recycled water, which water produced from other well sites from this well site could be stored in this tank. These are temporary installations, so the sizes can vary. The maximum size for a freshwater above-ground storage tank would be 60,000 barrels, and for recycled water would be 40,000 barrels with a 46,000 barrel secondary containment. The use of the ASTs for recycled water has to be approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection before we can do that. We can't just throw it out there, start dumping recycled water in there. We do need approval from the state to do so. These units are locked out, they're not just sitting there. Any access is controlled. And these are monitored both on-site by on-site personnel and remotely. We have ways to monitor these for leak detection and so on. If there would be an issue with the tank, there's multiple ways for us to identify that and mitigate the issue. Next slide, please. This here is just, we'll call it a calendar of events, and basically what this is to touch on how these wells will be developed. At EQT now, we develop what's called development runs, or dev runs, where we don't develop all the wells at one time from a site. We'll develop so many wells, let those produce, come back, drill additional wells, and then let those wells produce. And what that does, it limits the offtake, which means the piping coming off the site, we don't have to build it as much. Because wells, whenever they're producing, they first produce high volumes and then naturally decline over the years. So this well site is scheduled to be built in the second quarter of this year. I believe March 30th is the actual construction date we're hoping for as of today. There's 2 development runs scheduled for this well site. 18 wells currently planned. 9 of those will be in the first development run, which vertical drilling will begin in the third quarter of 2023. With these wells being eventually turned in line in the fourth quarter of 2024. The second development run, another 9 well development runs starting in the third or fourth quarter of 2028. Wells should be turned in line or producing gas in the fourth quarter of 2029. These times, especially the second development run, long way out, a lot of things can change. Lease availability, regulatory climates and timelines, the offtake capacity for this location, where maybe the first wells produce more than we thought they would, so we don't have the offtake to start the second development run when we thought. We do provide the township with our dates as we are proposing these operations. I believe Stephanie Paluda gives you guys pretty much a regular update on our dates of development. Next slide, please. Touch on some of the water issues with the well site. This is typically a popular topic for gas well development. Currently, we have a municipal water vault. So it's almost like an underground hydrant is the best way I'll describe it. It's permitted along Finleyville-Rama Road. It's about a half-mile west of the well site, though. This well site has actually been permitted twice. Originally, we had the access road coming off of a township road, going through some residential areas. As we started looking at the development, thought that wasn't a great idea, so we moved the access road. We are working with Pennsylvania American Water to also move that vault location to where it'll be right at the intersection of the access road and Finleyville-Rama Road. So that's where that second note of the additional vault locations are being evaluated. That's why. Additional fresh water will be supplied from water lines and trucking from other approved sources. Trucking is a big one. I know it's a concern with a lot of people. Our goal as a company, first of all, for safety issues. Secondly, for quite frankly, economics. Trucking is bad for us. We don't want to truck any more water than we have to, especially fresh water that can be provided from a municipal vault. We work with Equitrans on they provide us water through some of their offtake lines, so on and so forth. Trucking fresh water is an absolute last resort for us to keep fracs running. The specific water supply infrastructure, which means any kind of temporary water lines, any type of lines run by Equitrans, the municipal vault, as I touched on earlier, those are still kind of to be determined. Again, that's for well completions for the most part, which is still 2 years out even on the first dev run. So we're still in the planning phases on some of that stuff. But again, the town, sure.
If you can't get the original vault moved, it's a half a mile west, will trucks have to be loaded on the state road, or even on Township road to load it?
It would be temporary water lines. We could still utilize the vault and run temporary water lines from the vault to the site. So it would just be a little more infrastructure. And again, that's another thing we would like to avoid, because running temporary water lines for us costs more money. So at the end, and Pennsylvania, we have a very good relationship with Pennsylvania American Water, we have multiple sources with them. So we don't anticipate there being an issue. It's just that it's not permitted yet, so I don't want to give any false information otherwise. Slide 14 just touches real quick on getting into the noise concerns and mitigation. We do what's called an ambient study and a sound impact assessment for every one of our sites, unless structures are more than 1,500 feet away. So for this site, the ambient study was done from July 16th to 19th of last year. Basically what that is, they pick a point close to the well site. In this case, the monitoring point is about 500 feet from the center of the pad. And they monitor the sound for 3 days. They get the actual decibel levels at that location for 3 days. The sound engineers try to catch like a weekday and at least one weekday and one weekend day to have a good range for those sounds. The ambient study and the sound impact assessment were both provided with the conditional use application. Slide 15.
John, real quick, can you touch a little bit more on the sound wall?
That's next slide.
Touch on that?
Yep. From the ambient study and sound impact assessment, we did determine it would be in our best interest and to meet the township ordinance to propose sound mitigation for this site. Sound mitigation for lack of a better term, for sound walls. I'm actually going to point here because it's kind of hard to see. I hope everybody can hear me okay. What we're proposing is walls on three sides of the pad. So these are all 32-foot walls, and the footages vary from like 320 to 420 feet, depending on the side of the pad. Some people who do have concerns with the entire pad not being enclosed by sound walls, what our sound engineers have kind of explained to me, sometimes that can have a negative effect on the sound mitigation, to where you get an echo effect, and also the structures to the west of the site won't be affected nearly as much from the sound from the well site. So that's why there's the mitigation on the three sides.
John, the closest house to the west is, what, about a quarter mile away?
1,300 feet. So, and just for an example, it's modeled that during the frac, the sound level there is anticipated to be under 50 decibels. So we do not anticipate sound issues for the west of the pad. So that's why the mitigation is set up that way. Slide 16?
Oh, wait, John,
Oh,
so let's just go back.
Can you go back one slide, please?
Okay, so as applied, the ordinance requires a maximum daytime level of 75 decibels and a maximum nighttime of 65. So as a practical matter,